A few weeks ago, Freedom Watch announced the conviction of Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and James Biden for bribery from communist China, Ukraine, and Russia. That conviction now is in place. They were each sentenced to 20 years in prison. We are petitioning established law enforcement peacefully and legally to arrest these defendants and incarcerate them. In fact, but for the fact that Speaker McCarthy probably won't be Speaker by the end of today, we will petition the Speaker of the House to send the Capitol Police over to Biden's residence, as well as his son and his brother, and have them arrested. Unfortunately, Freedom Watch had to do the job that Congress should have done, at least through an impeachment. That didn't happen, and that's probably why McCarthy, in part, will be voted out as Speaker today. Now, we have another task ahead of us, and that's the conviction of Dr. Anthony Fauci, the doctor of death. His actions, sending the seeds of COVID-19, the SARS virus, over to a communist Chinese laboratory in Wuhan, China, which was known to produce bioweapons, to do research. And the research in particular was gain-of-function research, which is largely illegal in this country, caused the result, and it was reasonably foreseeable, this result, of a release of that virus and the death of over 10 million people and counting worldwide, and it's counting, I might add. He also was involved with the vaccines, which we now know are dangerous. And many people believe that he received kickbacks from the pharmaceutical companies, big pharma for that, as well as benefits with patents and everything else. That's not part of the conviction, but it certainly could be in the future for a subsequent indictment by a citizen's grand jury at trial, and the mechanism that we're using to uphold justice by we the people. We have the right to do it, as I've said. In a case, United States versus Williams in 1992, the late, great Antonin Scalia ruled the grand jury belongs to the American people, not the three branches of government. This is the way it was, particularly in the Old West before 1870, and our Justice Department came into existence. Scalia also found that the rules of criminal procedure are not overlapping necessarily with the rights of the grand jury, which is controlled by the people. Now, it logically follows that if we the people can indict, that we the people can try, that we the people can convict through a citizen's judge or citizen's jury, and we the people can carry that out peacefully and legally. And in fact, in 48 states throughout this country, we have a right of citizen's arrest. In the District of Columbia, in addition to that, in Maryland, where Fauci lives, the same thing. So consequently, we are here today to receive the sentence of the citizen's judge, Michael Pendleton. We must thank him for his service, for his courageous service. We'll hear what he is sentencing Dr. Fauci to. But whatever it is, it will be carried out by the will of the people, peacefully and legally. We are setting an example that the legal system belongs to the American people, not the three branches of government. The three branches of government have failed the American people. We say frequently that there's a two-tiered system of justice. It's much worse than that. It's one-tiered that is trained against the average American citizen and protects the elite and the establishment in Washington, D.C. and state capitals around this country, and other prominent people who can buy their way to having justice subverted, if not perverted. So I turn this over to the citizen's judge, Michael Pendleton, to issue any sentence that he may have for Dr. Anthony Fauci, who needs to be held accountable, not just for his own heinous actions, perhaps committing the worst crime of the 21st century. More people have died as a result of his actions than had died during the Holocaust, during the Third Reich and World War II. And we, for sure, the American people, must continue on to clean out the rat's nest. And you have the commitment of Freedom Watch and the special prosecutor, who is me, in that regard, to pursue government officials, judges, and others who have violated the oath of office, their trust with the American people, and must be held accountable. Because as it says in our Declaration of Independence, and I repeat this over and over again, When in the course of human events, the sovereign no longer represents the people have a right under the laws of nature and nature's God, not the law of the king, not the law of the state, but nature and nature's God, to alter or abolish that government and to form a new government by and for the people with equal rights for everyone in pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. It therefore follows that short of declaring independence, which of course we have a Third Continental Congress, which is about ready to do that, to create a new government and not a new nation. But short of that, we have the ability to mete out justice ourselves under the laws of nature and nature's God. Now, in this instance, we actually followed man's law. So it's completely synonymous. And once the citizens judge, Mr. Pendleton, issues his decision, we have the right to commission law enforcement to arrest Anthony Fauci. I turn it over to Mr. Michael Pendleton, our citizens judge, to issue the sentence against Dr. Anthony Fauci, the doctor of death.
Thank you, Larry. I've reviewed this case carefully, and the sentencing is commensurate with the crime. Reviewed the sentencing guidelines, and due to the nature, the gravity of the offenses, and there's multiple crimes that have been committed, multiple offenses, the Fauci sentence is severe. There's over 10 million lives that we're talking about. We also know that there was cover-up and lying in multiple circumstances, both to the Congress, to the American people, and to government officials. So, and we know that he was also convicted of criminally negligent homicide and multiple other things that in the totality require a sentence of life imprisonment without parole. Dr. Fauci is really one of the worst because of not only the fact that his actions led to so many deaths, but that he lied about it and covered it up, and actually, because of that, created more death. And it's not just in the United States, worldwide, that makes his crime so horrible. And so my decision is based on both the circumstances and the gravity of the crimes involved, life imprisonment without parole.
Thank you, Judge Pendleton. And I might add that while Dr. Anthony Fauci is being subjected to this sentence because he's been convicted rightly of what he committed, at a minimum negligent homicide, he had reason to know that this was a significant risk in terms of providing this virus to the communist Chinese and to a bioweapon lab. But there are others involved too, and we will be seeking them out. Because this stemmed from our lab, it came from our lab at Fort Detrick, Maryland, where we ourselves, not we the people, but our corrupt government experiments and creates bioweapons in violation of international law. We might remember that after 9/11, anthrax got out and killed a number of people in and around Washington, D.C. That strain of anthrax, highly virulent, highly toxic, highly deadly, was found to have come from our laboratory in Fort Detrick, Maryland. It was George W. Bush, the dad, Cheney and Rumsfeld, that gave that strain to Saddam Hussein to use against the Iranians at the time when Hussein was fighting the Iranians for control of that region. Sunni versus Shiite, Shiite versus Sunni. The two factions hate each other. And it got out and it killed Americans. Well, the fact is that this matter has been covered up. That our so-called government will not admit that we are involved in what happened as well, because we gave the murder weapon to the communist Chinese. Well, we'll be seeking these guilty parties out as well. And I suspect the intelligence agencies know exactly who's involved and may themselves be involved in this. But don't count on Congress getting to the bottom of it through their phony investigations, their dog and pony shows. Don't count on a Gestapo of a Justice Department, which has become, unfortunately, my alma mater, my once proud alma mater. But you can count on Freedom Watch, and you can count on the American people to get to the bottom of it. Because how is it, after nearly 4 years, I think it's 4 years, that no one knows, as they claim, what the origins of COVID-19 getting out at the Wuhan lab are? We do know. In fact, there's those out there that have done research that know exactly how it happened. But the government says, we can't make a definitive ruling on this. Well, you know what? They have surveillance capabilities, which they use illegally, routinely. I recently filed a case on behalf of the January 6th protesters where illegal surveillance was used to gather evidence to indict them and to convict them. That case is going forward in the Northern District of Florida. Government admits that they did it because they had no defense once it was revealed. We know that Edward Snowden revealed this mass surveillance. There's a supercomputer in Colorado which grabs all communications and keeps them for at least 5 years. We know who the guilty parties are here, in addition to Anthony Fauci. And Freedom Watch, and you have my commitment, will be seeking that information and seeking the indictment of those who are responsible as well. But for now, suffice it to say that Dr. Anthony Fauci should have to spend the rest of his miserable life in prison for what he has done and then lied about to Congress. And do not count on Congress doing anything, or the Gestapo of a Justice Department in the Biden administration, because Fauci is a Democrat highly aligned to Joe Biden and the rest of the left that controls the Justice Department. But it wouldn't happen under a Republican administration either, because the higher-ups protect each other. And we know that Fauci worked under President Trump, as much as I love President Trump personally. Fact is, he did not remove Fauci. So this is the establishment. This is what we're up against. And it's you, the people, that must take action. And this is an example of that. This teaches us a good lesson that we cannot leave it to government to do what we must do ourselves. So stay tuned. We will be sending out a clarion call, a request for established law enforcement, including to the Speaker of the House, the next Speaker of the House, whoever it may be, to send the Capitol Police into Maryland and to arrest Anthony Fauci. And they should do it for no other reason, quite apart from the negligent homicide. They lied under oath to Congress about conducting gain-of-function research in the Wuhan lab through the Chinese, sending them almost $3 million during the Obama-Biden administration. So I want to thank Judge Pendleton for his service. You haven't seen the end of it. If any of these defendants ever decide to defend themselves and they don't have respect to the American people, they don't think they have to recognize our authority and want a jury trial, they can have a jury trial. Judge Pendleton will sit over that jury trial. But none of these defendants, whether it was Biden, his son, or his brother, or Fauci, asked for a jury trial because they didn't show up and they were given the opportunity on numerous occasions to defend themselves. That is the lesson to learn, is that we, the American people, hold our own fate in our own hands with the grace of God, with the divine providence of God, as our founding fathers did. And to save this country, we must have a legal system that functions and holds everybody accountable equally. We don't have that today. We don't have that even close to being the case. So thank you, Judge Pendleton. We'll be back with our next defendant shortly, who will be tried. We'll make the decision on who's going to go next. And I might add that we need the resources. If you can contribute to Freedom Watch with tax-deductible contributions, what we do is expensive, and we're doing it for you. And you can go to freedomwatchusa.org. If you want to be a Citizens Grand Juror, contact us at leclayman@gmail.com, and we'll provide you with a questionnaire as to whether you qualify. The qualifications are you must agree to be neutral and fair, take an oath to do that, and also not be convicted of a felony in the past. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you for participating. We will save this country if we hang together, because as Benjamin Franklin said, either we hang together or separately we will hang. I'll be back next week with another edition of Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman, laying out exactly where we're going in these prosecutions of people who have violated their oath of office, federal judges included, as well as the government officials who have corrupted this country and brought it to its knees, to near extinction. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you for participating. God bless you all.